Over the past few seasons, one or two injuries have derailed Arsenal's title hopes. But this summer's investment has changed the game. With fresh faces across the pitch, we have to ask, does this squad finally have what it takes to win the Premier League? I don't know about you, but I enjoyed this summer break. Done better, cooked real good. Arsenal spent as much as £300 million. Yes, £300 million to sign 8 players that have heavily improved the team. We spent big this summer, not just to boost quality, but to also add real depth. Let's examine whether this squad has what it takes to finally win the Premier League. Starting with the defense and goalkeeping, Kepa Arrizabalaga, who came from Chelsea for £5 million, has arrived as an experienced backup to David Raya. There was a time when the backup goalkeeper at Arsenal was a challenge, but that's not happening anymore. We have an excellent keeper in Raya and a dependable backup in Kepa. Kepa can actually offer Arsenal rotation cover in the worst case scenario if Raya suffers an injury. We don't hope for that, but there is confidence in the fact that if for any reason Raya is out of action, we have a keeper we can trust to go in there and stay between the sticks. I also expect Kepa to play in the FA Cup, to play in the Carabao Cup, and to even play in some Derby Champions League games. Moving over to defense, Arsenal's defensive back line is heavily stacked with quantity and, most importantly, quality. At right back, we have Julian Timber and Ben White, with a young Josh Nichols at the background hoping to get his own chance. But White and Timber are excellent fullbacks. On the left-hand side, we have Ricardo Calafiori and the emerging Miles Lewis Kelly. Calafiori showed us a glimpse of his quality when Arsenal played at Anfield, and he basically kept Mo Salah in his pocket. Even after the game was over, Calafiori had to empty out his pockets just to allow Salah to breathe. It was such an amazing performance for the Italian fullback. In centre back, oh my, you obviously have the best pairing in the Premier League and even Europe, I dare say. Gabriel and Saliba are monsters. They are amazing, they are telepathic, and they are the reason why Arsenal has kept the most clean sheets for 2 seasons in a row. But guess who's behind them? Piero Hincapié and Christian Mosquera. Saliba suffered an injury in the warm-up to the Liverpool game. He was meant to actually have been banned from the onset, but he came on, started, and after like 3 or 4 minutes, he went off. Guess who came into the pitch? A young 21-year-old Christian Mosquera, who put up an amazing performance. Like an amazing performance. I was outstanded by his composure, by how calm he was, by how collected he was, and how he was never perturbed by the Liverpool attack or even the Anfield crowd. The young man just trusts his stuff with such confidence, and that's more than enough to let us now fans know that he can be trusted when the time comes. You're talking of a back line that has basically the best defenders in the Premier League. They will say Van Dijk is probably one of the best in the Premier League, no doubt. But Saliba, Gabriel are on a different level. In midfield, Arsenal has signed Zubimendi, who has come to change the game. This is a guy that is a massive upgrade from Thomas Partey. And his backup is Nørgaard, who is also an upgrade on Jorginho. Further up the pitch, you have our captain, Martin Odegaard, with a young Ethan Nwaneri behind him. On the left-hand side, you have the amazing Declan Rice with Mikel Merino, the industrious midfielder, as his backup. Arsenal's central midfield is stacked. And guess what? there is a creative spark ahead of them, and that is Eberechi Eze. He has finally joined the club, and Arsenal fans can't wait to see how he's going to change the game for us. One thing I love about Arsenal's midfield is the fact that there are several combinations that can be tweaked and used to allow Arteta focus on whatever tactical setup he has for the day. Going in against Liverpool, he wanted to be more industrious, so he opted for Zubimendi, Rice, and Merino. Obviously, Odegaard would have started if he was fully fit, but the idea was that we had the right level of depth to go into the game. In games where he wants to play maybe teams that are having like a low block, you can see maybe Rice playing in the anchor role with Eze and Odegaard as the left and right eight. This allows Arteta to tweak his midfield to wherever he feels like, dependent on the game. And he actually said it in an interview that is what his focus is going to be like. Watching each game, looking at his opponents, and knowing the kind of team to select. Arsenal's attack is stacked. On the left-hand side, you have the disappointing combo of Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard. However, Eze is versatile enough to also play in that position. On the right-hand side, you have, of course, our star boy, Bukayo Saka, with Noni Madueke. But Madueke is also versatile enough to play on the left. Spearheading the attack, you have Gyökeres and Kai Havertz. This clearly shows that Arsenal has bolstered their attacking options with real goal threats. Gyökeres scored 97 goals in 102 games for Sporting CP. Madueke is in the 95th percentile of carries, shots, and basically direct attacks. And that was clearly on show when Arsenal played against Liverpool in Anfield. Madueke was basically the only attacker in that team that really showed some great determination and wanted to make things happen. Losing Saka was a big blow, but Madueke gave us some confidence in the fact that he's so good. Gyökeres had to be at the top of his game to block most of the chances that Madueke had, and that actually led to an Arsenal goal if one of those good chances went in. Arsenal's attacking depth also means that Arteta can actually maintain a high output while rest periods become possible. Now let's talk about bench versus burnout. Last season, in December 2024, Saka had a hamstring injury against Crystal Palace and was ruled out for 4 months. February 2025, Kai Havertz suffered a hamstring injury that ruled him out till May. January 2025, Gabriel Jesus had a ruptured ACL that basically kept him out for the entire year. And when he added to the squad, we were finished in attack. We had to rely on the midfielder, Mikel Merino, as our centre forward, and that was not good enough. Clearly, it kind of showed us because we couldn't kill off games. We didn't have that striker that had a natural instinct to finish chances, and we just struggled, managed our way basically to a second place finish. If you recall, we are giving the likes of Man City and Nottingham so much space, but toward the tail end of the campaign, it looks like they were creeping in and managed to get a couple of victories that sealed our fate as the second best team in the league. But most importantly, the league was decided as far back as April, when in the previous campaign we had to wait till the final day. You could see the difference. However, with options like Kepa, Mosquera, Nørgaard, Eze, Madueke, Arteta can now manage our fixture congestion, especially with our vital Champions League schedule. You know how it is when Champions League starts. Saturday, Wednesday, Tuesday. It's crazy. Arsenal is expected to play up to 60 games this season. And now we have a squad that we can confidently use to manage in those games. Our bench strength marks a step change compared to recent seasons when injury derailed our title runs. 22-23, all it took was for Thomas Partey to get injured, William Saliba, and what happened? We started playing Rob Holding, who just stunk up the entire place, and of course you saw how that panned out. Last season, losing Kai Havertz was a very, very bitter pill to swallow because we already lost Saka, and it was very evident and we didn't have the firepower enough to kill off games. the stats that still haunts me in my dreams. Arsenal drew 14 games last year and led in 9 of them. That loosens a knot in my head, because I'm like wondering how we got to that level. But we didn't have the squad, we didn't have the quality, and it was on show. So Arsenal summer signings have fortified every area. Kepa in goal, Mosquera, Nkapie in defense, Zubimendi, Nørgaard, Eze in midfield, Madueke, Gyökeres in attack. This gives us perfect goalkeeping cover, perfect defensive alternatives, amazing midfield variety, and strong attacking depth. It is our strongest bench since the KSC takeover. I would say yes. Title winning, of course, has to do with consistency and staying free of injuries. As you can see, the injury gods just can't let us go. Kai Havertz had to go for surgery. Nørgaard is out. Ben White is out. Saka is out. Saliba was also out. But we still went to Anfield and played very well, losing to only a magical goal in the 83rd minute from Dominic Szoboszlai. What that tells us, the depth that Arsenal has now is so good, and the quality is very, very good as well. And that can allow Arteta go into games with confidence. So what do you think? Does this squad depth make Arsenal genuine title contenders in this new campaign? My answer is yes, but I would like to hear yours too. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow all about Arsenal for more Arsenal content. Till then, come on you Gunners!